whether it's text, it's image, video, speech, and audio. Some of these tools are free and some are paid, and all these 5 modalities or the content type allows us to get automated generated content for us to use in our daily life to increase our productivity. So at the same time, it also allows us to get an enriched information discovery experience. For example, if you don't know anything, you want a quick summary of something, then you can use GPT application. You can get it to answer your questions. If you have iPhone or any Android apps, try to go into your app store and search what could be the generative AI applications. Pocket AI, for example, is one of the applications that can help you, and the performance is similar to GPT. So now we know that ChatGPT is disruptive to education. In February 2023, because of a stir between the among the group on Jawatankuasa Inovasi in Teaching and Learning at UPM, so this group has raised concern about the usage of ChatGPT, and coincidentally at that time, I had students doing their final year project, and I asked if she has been using ChatGPT. So she said that she has been using it and it's actually very wonderful. So I started to investigate into this tool and discussed with our committee on innovation in teaching and learning, and we identified that there is a need to release this guide for ChatGPT usage in teaching and learning. So rather than turning a blind eye to it, I would like to propose that some questions or things that we need to focus rather is on how can schools most effectively enable students to develop the necessary skills to use AI. So let them to use AI for their own meaningful purposes. So it's up to us as an educator to design a meaningful lesson. I think today I'm very blessed to have a session with you all from UPSI, and I am hopeful to learn from you about your perception and also your comments about the suitability of using ChatGPT in your lesson, depending on your area, and hopefully we can also discuss how to use AI for us to create meaningful lessons together, for the benefit of our students. We know now that we have gone through one disruption already in our life, and Alhamdulillah we survived the COVID-19 pandemic. And at that time, we had to force into the remote teaching with the online learning. And in 2022, the end of 2022, the generative AI has been released and it has taken the world by the storm. So we can only anticipate that there are a lot of more surprising things happening in the future. So in the guide that we have released, we have highlighted that students should be allowed to use GPT, but it's up to us to ensure the students understand. We should focus on collaborative activities and engage with our students to monitor and also to guide them. And we can come up with unique case study in assessment, as well as implementing the different type of assessment and ask the student opinions and justifications. In a few months ago, I was also interviewed by TV3 because at that time it was really stirring due to the release of these generative AI tools. And I have helped the MQA to come out with advisory note number 2 regarding how generative AI can be used in higher education. Let us go through this advisory note together. If it is your first time, I would like to also invite you to discuss after this about how you want to respond to this advisory note. So basically, in this advisory note, it highlights about the potential and the risk on the quality of teaching and learning due to AI usage. It has highlighted that the generative AI has the potential to be used in facilitating and optimizing the process as well as the learning outcome of the students. This can also let the students to learn at their pace because the apps is able to respond and giving personalized answers. It able to also allow the student to increase the quality of assessment. So this is where we don't want, as an educator, we don't want us to be mistakenly at comfort, thinking that our student have been able to grasp the knowledge that we target them to be able to get, while actually they use the generative AI to generate the answer. So there should be some tricks or a way for us to maneuver this new change. So if you haven't considered or if you haven't really used ChatGPT formally in your course, please be mindful that there is possibility for your students to actually use ChatGPT to generate answer to complete the assignment that you have given to them and submit to you, and you suddenly think, wow, your student have improved so much. So this is where we really need to look at the core understanding and conduct several different assessments to be able to really measure the understanding of the student. There, in the advisory note, there are some guides for the academic staffs. Firstly, we are being reminded that technology is growing very fast, and we need to be able to be alert and proactive in redesigning our teaching and learning activities. And we need to see the technology as a facilitator, as a value added perspective, rather than for it to replace us. So this is where our role now becomes more important, to let the students to be able to appreciate the difference between face-to-face and guided learning compared to self-learning using ChatGPT and using other technologies. And we need to also be a role model to them in using the generative AI responsibly, as well as taking a much important strategies to redesign the teaching and learning activities as well as the assessment. So how to do this? It is really advised here that we focus on the practical aspects, the problem solving, as well as trying to consider alternative assessment to be able to measure the student attainment accurately. Among of the approaches that we can consider is to equip the students with curation skills rather than copy-pasting skills. We need to be able to emphasize to them the importance to check the accuracy of facts before they quickly making assumption that whatever is being generated is correct, and more importantly, to guide them in making decision and critical thinking. Okay, so this is a bit of introduction about the ChatGPT. If you open it, then if you ask this question, it will introduce itself to you. And ChatGPT has taken the world in just 5 days to match the number that Netflix has able to achieve in 3.5 years. If you look at the other applications, so I bet that Instagram, we don't have TikTok here, but compared to TikTok, when this was released in February, the Instagram was listed as the fastest in 2.5 months. When it was released in 2010, it has managed to capture the world's attention to reach 1 million users within 2.5 months. But ChatGPT, only within 5 days, it able to reach 1 million users. AI is actually not new to us. We have been at craze to use many kind of filter in TikTok for the purpose of just for entertainment, or to have a more convenient, or some, if we can use the word, some of you might already fall in love with the filter, and you might not want to proceed with taking picture without the filter. So that is the addiction, the level of addiction that can happen due to usage of AI. AI, or a machine, can able to think. In this slide, I would like to share with you the categories of AI. AI can be strong, weak. So this is the first category. Another category could be by defining them based on narrow, general, and super. This is based on their ability. The third one is based on their ability in reactive, limited memory, localized, and self-aware. The ChatGPT is a kind of narrow AI actually. So this narrow AI means that it is able to think humanly, mimicking thought based on the human mind, and it only focus on and able to perform the task according to what it is designed previously. The intelligence, however, have many other levels, thinking rationally based on logical reasoning. Although the AI nowadays that use deep learning is able to come up with some logical reason and logical answer. And actually in the area of AI, people are looking at interpretability as well as reasoning ability to be able to explain why one suggestion or one response is better than another. The intelligence also allows the machine to be able to act that mimics human behavior and achieve a particular goal. So the word particular here is related to narrow AI, which the agent or the system able to focus specifically. Before we have ChatGPT, actually there are many other applications of AI. We have Quillbot. If we have used it for paraphrasing, it is actually available as a Word plugin. You can download the plugin into Word and use Quillbot to paraphrase for you. Turnitin itself is actually an AI application for its ability to match strings. One of the globally known AI application in education is called Squirrel AI, which is by China. We have also Grammarly. I think Grammarly is quite renowned compared to Quillbot. Grammarly is an application that allows us to check our grammar and fix it for us. But there are other applications of AI in education, for example, Elsa and Cogni, and these are able to detect what is your pronunciation and then score for you. Besides all of these more pretty or fun, informal learning and supportive apps for teaching and learning, 6 years ago in 2017, we had Wolfram Alpha. When Wolfram Alpha comes about, it was really surprising and brings a lot of worries, same concern that we have today. And people have been considering whether to ban it, whether to continue business as usual, or whether to embrace it. So, the response that we must pick should consider the immediate, like the course level as well as the university level, the macro picture to impact our student. Before we proceed in the how, I would like to also introduce to you that AI has many benefits in education. It can be in management and delivery. It can also be in enhancing the teacher's ability to teach. Why? Because it reduces some of mundane tasks like attendance tracker allows some attendance to be automated, attendance tracking to be automated. The AI can also be used in learning and assessment. So if you look at this, the percentage and the ability of ChatGPT is just a fraction of what AI has to offer. So my point is that despite having the concerns, worry that students will use it for FYP, worry that there'll be plagiarism, students can easily just copy paste. It could be that it will deter the students to have proper critical thinking. What would happen to the language teaching? What will happen to our generation? They will get more lazy to read. Creativity might be obsolete. Maybe they'll be too dependent also on that tools. And there are also concerned that it would lead to false fact, some misuse, and even decrease in writing quality. However, I would like to remind you that there is possibility that the technology will come in many more forms, and it is not too far away in the future. So what we need to do is to join the storm, to have the fun as well, for us to understand about this application, what it can do, what it cannot do, and how we can steer around it. And this is very aligned with the advisory note that the MQA has released. Thank you very much. We have our friend just now who has left a link in the chat for you to consider looking at the ChatGPT's website. And actually, ChatGPT server nowadays, there are many versions for us to use. My version, I just realized it's not the same with the version that our gentleman just now has shared. So there are some slightly differences in the responses. My take is that ChatGPT actually wants to learn and observe the user. This is actually similar to what Yahoo has done long ago when they were still strong, not saying that they're not strong now, but when they just released around year 2000, early 2000 especially, a lot of research have been conducted to understand about the user searching and usability behavior. We can use ChatGPT for many purposes. To create a lesson plan, for example, for a topic, just enter it. I am teaching, for example, this semester I'm teaching algorithm design and analysis. I'm teaching algorithm design and analysis. My next topic will be on NP complete. Generate a lesson plan for me. Let me show you an example. Okay, like this. We can also ask differently how to teach about NP complete. So it can teach me. So I feel now that I have a buddy tutor, a buddy teacher who is able to recommend and guide me as well for me to start. It's not my first time teaching the course, but somehow I want to have an idea, how can I do it differently? How can I be more innovative? So looking at this, it can remind me and give me suggestions about how I could deliver my lesson better. And if you look at the prompts, we can ask it to explain, to demonstrate, and we can refine further, explain about satisfiable problem, and this is based on what's being written here. I can ask it to dig further. I want to dig further. I want it to give me more specific related to, this is free version. But if you see at the top here, mine is chat.openai.com. Sometimes when I open it, I have another version. Yeah, wait. I realized that the URL for me to connect is not the same. If the one that our friend just now have shared, wait, is it this one? This one, I think. This is chat-gpt.org. This is chat.openai.com. Do you realize? Okay, this one is not. If I open another one, This one obviously it will go to this. But if we go through the front, sometimes it will give us, it will link us to another direction. So if you're new, please just sign up using your Google account, then you can benefit from it. Let me continue. So this is just some examples about what you can use it for. Maybe tips. You can ask it to recommend to you whatever task that you are considering to do. Look at number 5. You can also give it a topic, ask it to generate questions for you, ask it to make the question harder. You can even ask it to change to multiple choice question, and ask it to provide question and answer together. My own experience, I have used also ChatGPT to help me create MCQ questions for me to use in my quizzes. So there are times that I allow my students to use ChatGPT. There are times that I don't allow them to use. Like for the quiz, especially that we are face to face. So the question that I want them to use, that I want them to answer, because I know it's not with ChatGPT, I can ask direct question. So for this one, it will be like level C2, level C3, and mostly for level C1 and C2. We can also ask and allow the students to use ChatGPT for a question that is of higher level. I think I'll go quick on this. This is just to tell about the magic of ChatGPT. It is able to be as fantastic as it is now because it has the G stands from the generative ability to generate new text based on the training it has pre-trained, the P and the T here. Transformers, because the transformer use neural network architecture to process the input and generate the output text. This is similar to what we have just now, but this is to highlight that we can also ask it to summarize text, to complete a text for us, and to change, rewrite it to be in specific style. And it is also able to understand dialect. So I had this because when I gave the ChatGPT talk for the first time, this was also one of the concern, whether ChatGPT can understand specific language. It actually can, and it's quite cute. It's able to respond and answer. Sometimes if you see lagu mana nak proses nak buat wudu, it can understand and it can but consistently it will respond based on just formal language, but the point is that it is able to understand our first question too. In this slide, I share about the paradigm on where AI can be used. There is actually a journal paper for this. After this, I'll give you the link to it. There are 3 paradigms to use AI. Directed AI, where learner is as recipients, and this is behaviorism. I think those who are good in pedagogy can really relate to it. The paradigm 3 is AI empowered, where the learner as leader. So I would like to suggest that we consider learner as collaborator and learner as leader. So hopefully by today's discussion, we'll be able to tune how we can use ChatGPT to achieve paradigm 2 and achieve paradigm 3. Before we reach there, this is just another basics to tell about how ChatGPT can be used in the classroom. It can also be used for grading. Besides asking for advice, you can also specifically use it in your class, like asking it. So imagine in the class, you guide the students to use ChatGPT to perform this task. Ask them to, asking them to generate creative writing prompts for story ideas, and then you observe. So my personal experience is that when I conduct activities and I encourage the students to use ChatGPT, similarly as much as I encourage them to use other technologies, I like to go around, sit down with them, asking them about what prompts did you use to get this answer? What is your opinion? If you compare your answer with your friends, did you get anything different? When you look at the answer and you compare it with the one that you found from the web, which one do you think is more accurate? Which one is easier? Sometimes the student would say that the ChatGPT is easier, but some of them might also say that the web is easier. So depending on the topic and also depending on the language, because sometimes the ChatGPT, the way that it responds, because it depends on the exposure, the training that it has, the way that it will respond sometimes will be of a high level. And this is where if we have the face-to-face would be useful for scaffolding, for us to be able to explain to the student in words and sentences with examples that the student can understand easier. So my point is that sometimes ChatGPT is actually better, but sometimes it requires also the lecturer to scaffold and more discussion for the student with other students to learn. So if we think about the model of community of practice, it is not advisable to let the student to learn only with ChatGPT. The talaki still needs to be there, but so this is where the rote learning as well as the flipped classroom can be redesigned by integrating ChatGPT. Here I provide more prompts for you to consider to refine the quality of your interaction, because you can ask it actually based on what it produced to you, ask it to revise the text. So usually what I do, I'll ask, revise, make it clearer, make it simpler. I don't understand. I don't understand. Then I'll ask it to summarize, or ask it to write step-by-step directions, giving more explanation, give me more examples, and whatever that I want it to do. The point is that you can refine it to personalize. We are now ready for the second second part, which is on how we can redesign the activity. Allow me to stop after I share one example. So a guide that I can share about ChatGPT in activities, ask them to use ChatGPT, but tell them some rules. You set the rules on what's its usage. You can, when you use ChatGPT, a way for you to detect that the student really understand, you can ask them retrieval question, some memorization activities. And usually we typically do this at the beginning of our lesson, right? And usually this is also the time that I will remind them. So I will remind them, the question that I ask you are actually simple question, but you couldn't answer, probably because last time you either did not focus to what I say, or when you complete the assignment or activity that I gave you, you were relying too much on ChatGPT. You let ChatGPT replace you as the learner. So usually, another way that I remind them, I usually have discussion sessions in my class because the students are in computer science area, so they need to be able to understand what are the paradigm. Right now, people are worried that the technology will replace human. So I will use this paradigm again to remind them, as much as you want to use this tool, you need to be able to make sure that it does not replace you as a human. You should be better than it. You should use it as a tool to empower you, to enrich your learning process, not for it to replace you. Replacing you as a learner means that you don't do the thinking. So to do this, we need to guide them to do something called productive struggle. I'll introduce to you about productive struggle in a few minutes' time. But besides this retrieval, productive struggle, in our class, we need to do more collaborative and discussion activities. This is because when the student depends so much about these apps, they actually don't really talk and express what's in their mind. More worryingly, as you said, if they just copy paste. So a way for us to encourage them to be able to check back their understanding is to let them to spill it out. So we need to conduct activities such that, for example, we can do jigsaw puzzle in the class or buzz group. We ask them to elaborate what you understand about this personally. If you relate to real world, how would it be? Then we can relate to the context happening locally for them to be able to express, relate, and this is the deep learning that we want. We want the student to have good attainment. We can encourage them to use ChatGPT and ask them to also experiment questions that can't be answered, and this will let the students to think critically and dive deeper. I've also done some activities that require the students to ask a lot of questions to ChatGPT. So just imagine, at the moment that the student can come up with questions, this does not only encourage the student to have inquiry-based thinking, but also this Aristotle technique will allow them to guess and think whether the answer that is being given by the ChatGPT is correct. And we can use this as an asynchronous or self-learning activity, asking them to evaluate whatever response that being given to them is accurate, and let them to discuss by comparing among each other. So this way, we let the students to really understand, and also at the same time, we encourage them to have a good skill of what technology you can use, when, and how to use it best to achieve your goal. Even ChatGPT itself can come up with suggestions how it can be best used in lesson. So based on ChatGPT, it suggests to us to use it by posting question to itself, by also evaluating responses that it gives, and also to use it in individual and group work. Because when you done it in individual and group work, the students will feel the fun of comparing, of sharing, and also to debate. And it's very useful and very important for us not to be replaced. Us as educator, our job, one of our most crucial job, is to provide feedback to them. When you use ChatGPT, this is how you do, but before you use ChatGPT, this is actually how you actually perform. So how can you actually get better? It is again our job to analyze our instructions, to see whether it's too straightforward, can easily be copy-pasted into the ChatGPT, and whether it encourages the students to build higher order thinking or not. So this higher order thinking nowadays have been related to a technique called productive struggle. Let me share with you my experience how I conducted productive struggle. This happened in week 2 in UPM. Right now we are in week 13. So what happened was, I had this is my slide. In the previous week, I had this question, what is your strategy? So in this topic, we were discussing about sorting algorithms. We have BDAC, how to sort it to ABCD. So I just casually asked the students, what could be your strategy? So they discussed. So the next week, this was from week 1. So in week 2, I asked them, I conducted some memory recall. Then I asked them to find answers in pairs, and I asked them to give presentation. So this is my instruction. This name is not real. So I asked them to choose 2 sorting algorithm, and I asked them to provide explanation on the sorting algorithm. I asked them to find the algo and test the coding and find answer why the complexity of the algorithm. So these are the algorithms such as they have found, and discuss about the characteristics and compare their differences. Be prepared to share your observation. So this was my initial instruction. I assigned them I asked them to form groups, and I asked them to choose what algo they want to compare. So my observation is this. I have given them a Google Slide editable link. Usually I ask my students to take their laptop to the class so that we can do activities like this. And also because they need to execute some coding, and then we'll do some active learning together. So this is my observation. The students managed to complete the task. They are free to express the answer in a structure. So if you see on the right side, some of them write properly in table. Some of them just paste it out. Students are happy because they can use ChatGPT. They also said that they mix with some other references. They said that the questions are tough because if you see here, I asked a lot of things because this was the beginning of the semester, and this was about early February, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was early March. So at that time, I was actually quite nervous. What could be the experience my teaching this time, because this semester my student can use ChatGPT. So I wanted to do this experiment. So the students said that the questions are tough, and it is the first time for the presentation in the course. They are shy actually, but they try. So when they are able to do that, and when they present, actually I ask some questions. The questions are available in their slide, but they could not answer. So this is when I know the students actually just copy pasted without really having deep thinking. So what I did after that, I analyzed my question. I realized when I do this way, this is low level thinking. I just ask them to provide the explanation. Then this part, find the algo, test the coding, identify the performance. This is a high order thinking actually. Usually students will have a cold feet and struggle when they code. But to my surprise, ChatGPT can be used to generate code. So the student does not have to search whatever. They just relax and easily they conduct it. And they just press several buttons. And when they try to explain what they understood, it's very shallow. They could not give their observations because the learning process was too easy for them to complete the assessment. And actually the students does not understand. So from this analysis, I know I have to make a change. So this is my intervention. I told them, do you remember last week we covered this? So as I built this concept map, I initially asked them to come forward, but they were frozen at their seat. So I asked them, together we have built this. And to ensure they have a deep understanding, although they show a blank face, I know that I need to probe further. And I know that their understanding is still low. So what I did was this. I fill up slide 2 and 3. I prepared another instruction. I asked them to fill up some slides with some algo and provide some order of growth. And I asked them to show the steps, because I realized when I gave the instruction to them, it was too open-ended. I was actually unsatisfied with the answer because there are some skills that I could not detect the student get it or not. So I refined my question, and I realized now this activity become more structured and guided. I asked the students to solve it with the same sequence, so it is easy for them to compare. So what I did was, I created in the same Google slide a blank table. I prepare this basic criteria, steps, number of steps for them to put inside. Oh, I remember. This criteria, the basic criteria, steps and number of steps were derived together once we prepared this. This mind map actually allows me to understand some parts about what the student understand or not, and I wanted to show them that actually you have to learn how to learn. You have to learn how to use ChatGPT during learning. So I realized by doing this, by observing the student learning behavior, I can understand their learning patterns. By providing the templates, students are clear on my expectations. Easier for me to identify students who need help. So the first activity, I asked them to identify the characteristics. Although the answers are explicitly available, they couldn't relate to my request. Again, this could be due to copy-paste. So I guided them to compare the answers across all 8 algo. You might see this as spoon feed, but remember, the students are disrupted too. So I want to show them why they need to put effort to learn. The collaborative and experiential learning has enabled everyone in the class to identify the criteria beyond the existing literature. And to me, this is pure and authentic learning. I listened to their reflection. I motivated them by interacting further for me to understand them. So, based on this, even we see that this highlight was what I asked the students. So, based on what you have found, let us compare. And remember, because this was only week 2, so the student does not really understand about the course, so I guide them this way. So some notes that I can share with you. Students need to be taught on how to learn, instead of first considering that they have learned, assuming that they have learned, while actually they might, in reality, just copy-paste from the ChatGPT. We also need to unlearn and relearn, because we know sometimes the ChatGPT gives better instruction, better knowledge to the students. So we need to leverage the tech to make ourselves better. We need to also remember that the students need guidance and monitoring, and we need to be ready for agile teaching strategies. So this is where we monitor. The response that I had before was that when I use these slides, I have used this slide before actually in my several other sessions. Some of the audience said that, well, I could afford to do this because my class is small size. When you have a bigger class, of course, the challenge is different. So for bigger class, what you can do is to do something that is more structured, collaboration in the group, and use forum in your Moodle system, and ask the student to compare between one another. And also you may use collaborative online software to be able to let the students to compare to one another. This is a snip from the guide that we have released. Practice, recall, and other memorization exercises. Engage with the students, conduct collaborative activities, because whilst individuals can search up short answers, most of the effort to learn actually come from their own thoughts by listening from others. So to me, ChatGPT can be regarded just as a modality for them to refer, but for them to really understand is when they think. So how to make they think when we do higher level activity like comparison, analysis, and sharing. So assessment questions that were considerably challenging and mostly suitable for assignment should now be revamped, especially when you identify that a straightforward answer is available. And we, most importantly, we don't want to be a fool to mark the ChatGPT's answer. Our job as an educator is to educate the student. So we need to adapt and incorporate ChatGPT in assessment preparation, implementation, marking, and feedback. So how to do it? You test the ChatGPT yourself. So this is the second part on assessment. So we can go deep on how to redesign assessment. A bit of refreshment. Have you heard about human-in-the-loop machine learning? So this is an approach which allows the machine learning, such as the ChatGPT, to be improved based on our interaction with it. And reinforcement learning, the algorithm that is being used in the ChatGPT actually does that. It monitors us and it gets better based on our interaction. It is actually time for us to rethink plagiarism and cheating. I start with this first because we can actually face with these scenarios. Whether, firstly, the student plugged the prompt into the AI, copied the response and submit to teacher. Obviously, this is bot created. So, this is an example of the rules that you can use in your class to let the student to at least read, edit, adjust, and submit. So this way, the student can be collaboratively learn by using AI, collaborative with AI to learn, and allow the student to also create multiple AI response, ask them to create multiple AI response, use the best parts, edit and submit. But we know that we want the student ideally to be able to write the main idea, the AI generate the draft and offered feedback to improve, and the student edit it further, the student enrich it with consultation from other tools, then write and submit, compared to the students who doesn't use any internet or AI. Because chances are, nowadays, if you don't use any technology to learn, it is possible that you are reinventing the wheel. You think what you think is not available, but actually it has been available. So nowadays, it is digital age, which requires us to use some form of technology for us to get better. Let us look at this. This is from Mr. Wan Mama Amran, one of the panels, my member panelist in one of the sessions that were conducted earlier. Do we reward our students for their effort or for their outcome? Are we indirectly incentivizing cheating? So, by having these two thoughts, he suggested that we should not deprive our students from learning values and skills they will need as adults. Because when they go to work, tools will be one of their best weapon to perform. So being at the campus, this is where we need to be able to balance the risk for cheating and the opportunities for them to learn further, get feedback, improve, because we know that some students are shy. And also, again, learning sometimes, depending on the time and situation, sometimes you have some thoughts. Why wait until the student see us for them to able to ask questions? So allow them and guide them to conduct meaningful learning session with using these tools, and make sure that we can invest in coming up with relevant assessments rather than investing in student surveillance techniques. So we had one question earlier regarding the apps that can be used to detect AI. It is good, but also remind that we need to encourage students. So talking about this guide on what is the percentage that can be used, for your information, right now there is no percentage yet being released, at least nationally, on what is the safe and encouraged percentage for AI matching in trading. In this slide is to show whether ChatGPT can substitute teacher. So in this slide, it tells about the productive learning. So learning productively, productive struggle. The student submits a draft to ChatGPT and utilize the feedback. And so when we submit the students' work into the ChatGPT, we can also utilize the feedback, and we can also supply the rubric earlier to the student for them to map. So this way, ChatGPT can be useful as a teaching assistant. Some practical tips that I wish to suggest is to consider unique case study, because ChatGPT is not able to come up with good response when we come up with special case study for each of the student, and focus also on student opinions and justifications besides only their output. So this is where we can look at the learning processes rather than only the learning product or the learning output. Because if you imagine, when they go to work, they are in the environment. For them to be able to be outstanding, for them to be able to let other people to learn from their experience, and these are the learning processes that we need to make them realize about the curve of their learning, to be able to reflect what they have learned. In terms of the assessment, things that we can do is to create questions that involve contextual and real-world problem, to express about personal opinion with reasoning justification, current issues, as well as drafting sketches, figures, and illustrations, because ChatGPT cannot do that. So to do, things for us to do: review your assessment, be empowered with AI, include a section in the assessment to let the students to critique for the improvements based on what ChatGPT provide to them, and try different assessment types that are more immune to AI. This word immune to AI, meaning that the AI cannot be able to generate answers because your question is very specialized, that you have tailored it to be specific to the context, and it is not straightforward. And I really encourage you to use ChatGPT to draft quiz questions and get the possible answers with feedback setting. You can use this to set it in the Moodle system, and you can also use it to generate rubric. I haven't had the opportunity to test the current version. I don't have access to ChatGPT 4. I don't have the account, but I think I should one day spend time to repeat this experiment. So before this, I have conducted an experiment to see whether ChatGPT logical reasoning is good or not. In this experiment on the left, I provided two examples, two answers to it. Both answers are correct, but then I tried to trick it. On the right side, I provide one answer which is correct, another answer is incorrect, but the incorrect part, I try to trick it. Supervised learning could learn by clustering patterns in data. So clustering should be unsupervised. If Harnani is still around, I think she can help you to explain further. Unsupervised learning is for clustering patterns. Supervised learning is for categorization problems. But the ChatGPT, unfortunately, terciduk di sini. It said that both A and B are not correct statements. So this is another example that I usually show to the students. You think you can cheat with me by using ChatGPT? Beware, some of my questions have trick. So this is also one of the ways for the students to know they should not depend 100% on it. I took this from an online session that was hosted by UMT, and the speaker here shared about advanced question design techniques such as backward design and authentic assessment that can be used to convert MCQ into alternative questions. I think this is good. And he suggested also to create questions that are more relevant and engaging for the students, like the Socratic question technique, and to generate question that relates to how the ChatGPT can be used to generate questions like this. So to answer about how to detect GPT, not necessarily ChatGPT output, but how to detect GPT, there are at least 4 applications here that I can share. I'll copy paste this afterwards, or maybe I should do this now. And in these 4, if you look on the right, this is from the Turnitin. Wait, how can I take the floating box out? I'll do this later. So this is from Turnitin, and it has this score, AI score. So this AI score would be something that would be changed in the future. But I would like to also remind, student surveillance, I think, is not the best, because sometimes the tools cannot detect. For example, in here, based on what is being generated by this ChatGPT, I copy pasted and put in 3 applications. So in these 3 applications, one said 8%, another said 8% from GPT, another said 99% human generated content, meaning 1% from GPT. Another say 100% your text has been most likely written by AI model. This is from detector.dng.ai. So my argument is that it is possible that we cannot detect. So what is most important is for us to redesign and to encourage safe and responsible AI. So the UNESCO has come up with a guide that AI should be humanized and should be democratizing fair and responsible AI. So how to do this? Everybody play a role to consider how AI can be leveraged to enhance education, how AI can be best exploited for the common good in education, how we can ensure the ethical, inclusive, and equitable use of AI in education, as well as to prepare humans to live and work with AI. So this is from UNESCO, and hopefully everybody is aware on this. Again, we also play a role to remind the students. For the students, the biggest warning should be that ChatGPT's facts cannot be taken as is. Students should question every piece of text they get from AI. The ChatGPT has been known to deliver inaccurate information, so students should be more important than ever. Be aware of the need to verify information, because we can assume that more and more AI tools will be developed to help educators get a sense of whether a piece of AI, a text is AI or not. The NQA advisory note has also provided a section on recommendation to the students. Students need to be given and encouraged to get a good understanding and realize that generative AI can be used to support their learning, but not to replace them as learner. This is in the MQA. It is important for them to use generative AI ethically, responsibly, and with integrity according to the academic institution guide, to make sure that they're still able to master the skill and knowledge needed in their teaching, in their learning. So the knowledge and the information that's been given by the generative AI should be verified before it can be used in any of the things. So some more suggestions. This is from Dr. Kiman at UMK. So he said that the students need to think, is AI needed for this task? They need to check its security. They need to keep it honest. They need to give credit where it is due. So the productive struggle, the grades reflect the student mastery, since ChatGPT engaged students in productive struggle. So here, the grades may not reflect the student mastery. The left cannot reflect, the right can reflect. because the right part engage the student in productive struggle. Let's look at the difference. The student give prompt to the ChatGPT, it generates responses, give feedback to the student, and then the student submit the assignment to the teacher. Teacher submit the feedback and ask the student to revise and give the grade to the student. Compared to only the student give prompt to the ChatGPT and get the answer and submit and get a grade. So again, it is our task to be able to design our assessment such that the student has to conduct several prompts, series of prompts, and combine. So how to do this? Consider having assessment questions that ask two topics in one challenge. So try to let them to compare thoughts, give example, explain why, things like that, to let the student to be able to really reflect. I mentioned about GPT-4. This is from the ChatGPT website actually. It tells about the advantage of GPT-4 compared to GPT-3. For example here, it is able to accept image as input and generate captions. It is able to handle over 25,000 of texts. It is more creative and collaborative than ever before. If you're given this example, if you see here, the GPT-4 is more compact and it's more direct compared to ChatGPT or the GPT-3 that is more chatty. But the point is that the GPT-4 is better than GPT-3. So a reminder, the UNESCO has also provided this, that the world citizen need to understand what the impact of AI might be, what it can and cannot do, when it is useful, when its use should be questioned, and how it might be steered for the public good. So if you see this is addressed to world citizen, us and the student. So let's help them, and let's together as educator try to equip ourselves with AI literacy. AI literacy means understanding about data literacy, or the ability on how AI collects, cleans, manipulates, and analyzes data, and algorithm literacy, or the ability to understand how AI algorithms find patterns and connections in the data. The UNESCO has also released this guidance for policymakers on AI and education. But if you go through all the yellow that I have provided here, the emphasis is on AI that is safe, AI that is ethical, equitable, transparent, non-discriminatory, foster human values, define values that prioritize people and environment over efficiency, foster that people remain at the core of education. So this is from the Malaysia National AI Roadmap. In the roadmap, it has this section on principles for responsible AI, fairness, reliability, safety and control, privacy and security, inclusiveness, transparency, accountability, and pursuit of human benefit and happiness. So my conclusion is that the boom of AI is not slowing down. If you look at this slide, there are a lot of AI applications that is being released for education. And there are concerns that GPT may replace some jobs in the future. So our task as an educator is for us to let the student to equip themselves with good skills and leverage digital skills for them to increase their efficiency and productivity. Some takeaway message: banning ChatGPT is like shutting down the students from the need to prepare themselves for the skill. Educators are worried maybe it might hinder the students' ability to think critically, but because of the capabilities of AI, The schools will need to rethink how they evaluate the student learning. It should be in a more dynamic way, as opposed to static summative assessment or submission of essays, because students and people in the future would be the excellence people in the future would be those who are have this resourceful, and the educator's role to make sure that the students are resilient, prepared for their unforeseen future, and focus on activities and assessment that build the students' ability in critical thinking, community, creativity, collaboration, and citizenship. Because the positive effect is to produce quality students. So focus on their ability to communicate clearly, coherently, and confidently, and stop hiding behind lengthy reports. Because some students, they will write lengthy reports while actually they don't really grasp the core. So focus on condensed communication. Even if you look at the TikTok nowadays, it's very condensed knowledge that's being delivered, and ability to articulate, very important. Importance of experiential learning. We need to switch to live problems that are evolving in the class. Stop feeding students problems from the past. Learning happens in real time with assistance of AI. Focus on hands-on experiential learning and opportunities. Assessment should be increasingly based on creation. This is level 6. Assessing the quality of the process. Students will have to work together beyond merely forming groups and splitting up the work. Let them to interact with each other. Try to measure whether they can collaborate effectively, demonstrate professionalism, and shift to a more dialogue-based approach to learning. Assessment about the quality of the process rather than simply the outcome. So ultimately, it is timely for the student to be able to demonstrate that they can apply the principles of the learning into their culture and civilization. I would like to also promote a course that I have developed. The course was developed by the support of UNESCO, Artificial Intelligence for Educators, and the course is free. I'll give you the link after this in the chat box. Here, you can learn and get a certificate, micro-credential certificate on AI for educators. This is my last slide. If we teach today's student as we taught them of yesterday, we rob them of the future. That's all from me. Thank you very much. I open for further discussion. Let's go. Thank you. My slide. Can see my screen?
Yep, boleh kata.
Okay, let's go. Okay, basically, ni sebenarnya pun I ambil daripada ChatGPT punya website. Not from the ChatGPT website. I think this is from Medium. Medium was providing a review on how GPT works. Basically, there are 3 steps. The first step is called supervised fine-tune step. Second is mimicking human preferences, and third is proximal policy optimization. So previously, we have looked at the full name of GPT. So we know G meaning it can generate new text. P meaning it is pre-trained. It uses a large corpus of text data before being fine-tuned for specific tasks. And then they have this transformer. This transformer is based on neural network architecture to process the input text to generate output text. Okay, so we know now that there are 3 steps. In the step, what happened? This is how it happened at the back end. In the first step, collect demonstration data and train a supervised policy. The prompt is sampled from our prompt dataset. For example, like you explain a reinforcement learning, about reinforcement learning to a 6 years old. And this reinforcement learning works by learning from treats and punishments, and then it has supervised fine-tuning. This supervised fine-tuning, how it learns from this data set. All of these tokens. So in total, I gathered this in February. So if I'm not mistaken, maybe around nearly 1,000 billions of tokens. Oh, here, sorry. The total is 499 billion tokens, and tokens means word by word, 499 billion. This was in February. Was it? No, I think this was from December 2022. So 6 months after, I trust that they have now covered a lot more. That is why they can come up with the GPT-4. So, what have they learned from? They learn from common crawl from the internet, and they filter also the responses. They have this web text, books, and Wikipedia. So that's why it's so intelligent. It learns from a lot of examples, and this is how it looks like in the neural network. It has this neuron, and the neurons are connected from one another, having these layers. First, it extracts the general public knowledge, and then the industry specific. So for the industry specific, it specified 1 million parameters. The training cost $100,000 training cost. For the task specific, 1,000 training cost. So this cost is based on how long it has taken to develop the GPT. On the right side is how it looks like as a general transformer model architecture, and these are what happened inside this step number 2 and step number 3. In the step number 2, after it collects the comparison data and it has learned about the reward, then there is human. This labeler ranks the outputs from best to worst, and then it executes relearn. So relearn in step 3, there is this process called the proximal policy optimization, and in this approach, it is going through this way. The PPO, the proximal policy optimization, learn from the supervised policy, it generates the output, then the reward model calculates a reward for the output. That is why in the ChatGPT, you can see this. So when you click up or down, and nowadays I think it also learns from your paste as well as from your sharing of the so it actually learns from your interaction. Wait, yes, ChatGPT 4 can input images. Yes. Okay, I hope this has able to answer you. Is that okay? Tapi yang tadi how it works tu kan, Wolfram Alpha. I actually haven't really looked at the latest Wolfram Alpha, but the example that I give just now, Wolfram Alpha learn from a vast knowledge as well, and it is able to answer for mathematical questions, and also do data analysis. So it wouldn't be a surprise for them to merge. I still recall one of the sessions that I had previously. I think it was I couldn't remember whether it was the first one. Maybe it was the first one that people have been saying. So at that time, the crowd that I had have used ChatGPT quite healthily. They were exploring, but there was one sharing saying that she has tested, but ChatGPT could not do data analysis. So this person said that, but another person at that time was discussing that if ChatGPT is able to do the data analysis from end to end and autonomously, it will be very powerful. But personally, I have actually used ChatGPT for me to generate synthetic data, to develop machine learning algorithm, and to execute it. It's just for me to experiment. But based on what it does, I could not publish because a lot of things are missing. I can argue so much. Most of the time, the accuracy in the machine learning model that it developed is 100%. So to my students even, they have actually explored. So you see, the students, they are very creative. They have explored things even before they taken the course, because they know next semester they'll take data mining, which I also teach. So they already want to know, if I enroll in this course, would it be easy for me or not? Can ChatGPT help me or not if I go to this course? So these are the kinds of the students that we face nowadays. So we need to be steps ahead from them. Okay, let's go. Any more? Come. I'm very friendly. Hanani knows if she's still around. Please feel free for a discussion. I welcome you.
Doctor, a question
Yes.
from Dr. El Said. We know
Mm-hmm.
to use technology, there are health risks. How about safety when we use ChatGPT?
To use again, what are the health risks?
Using ChatGPT. Is there any health
Safety, eh?
risks?
Safety. I would say we need to protect ourselves from being bluffed easily if we do not take precautions such as verifying information. Maybe, I don't know whether there are already cases that people got too addicted with ChatGPT to the point that it is harmful for health. Safety to use ChatGPT. So far, I've looked more into how to use it responsibly. Safely usually is in the context that we can depend on it. So safety for health risk, this is new to me. But what I can consider is not to be easily blinded and assuming that the answers is all correct. Thank you, Dr. Asayed.
Thank you so much, Doctor.
Welcome, my pleasure. Any more?
Any other question? Come on, guys. BPSI.
Come on, can I know what do you think? Would you think that ChatGPT can be useful in your teaching? You can use the chat too. Boleh membantu dalam pengajaran. Thank you very much, Dr. Muhammad Isa. I have also used ChatGPT in research to get quick summary about things that I don't know. I have asked it also to give me ideas on how to conduct experiment, what could be the next thing to know, and from some of the things that they provide, and some of my friends also said that they often find that the ChatGPT does not give a correct answer. Maybe I'm more trustworthy, I'm easily trusting apps. Maybe I'm just like the student, easily trusting, but sometimes I also find that the answer is not really accurate. Thank you for the thoughts, Dr. Rahman Safian. Vital for educators to stay updated with AI, like GPT, as calculators and the internet revolutionized education before. AI has the potential to do the same now. So let's embrace this tool for a richer learning experience. Writer's block. Memang penting lah writer's block ni. Okay, this is my course.
Hi, Dr. Fadlina. Harnani here.
Hi, Harnani. Nice to
Hi,
hear from
actually,
you.
this is my
Congrats,
second
Dr.
time.
Harnani.
This is my second time listen to your talk about ChatGPT. Earlier, the first one when you give talk on at UPM, but I just listened to them. All right. So actually, based on I just new to this ChatGPT, and I think I want to start use in my class after this. So just trying to explore and so on. In my personal thought, I think it might help students to improve their maybe searching strategy and so on. But at the end, we as a teacher need to conduct and also need to monitor their work as well, because sometimes students just copy and paste without understanding. So
What do you
maybe
teach now?
uh, for this semester, I'm teaching probability and statistical
Oh,
data analysis.
okay,
And
thank you.
also,
Can ChatGPT really give
no, no,
answer in statistical analysis?
um, I have another course which is system analysis and design. So maybe
Hmm.
later I want to test with this course first, because system analysis and design is more open. Maybe they can search about methodology to implement in a course and so on, in develop a system and so on.
But for statistical, it doesn't work.
I'm not trying yet because this is my first time teaching this subject. Maybe later, just plan to implement it in the future semester.
Right. Okay. Thank you for sharing. Really appreciate that, Harnani.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. Very exciting to see you here.
I hope I don't bore you.
No,
Some
no.
more repeats.
No,
Thank you, Dr.
lots of
Harnani.
informative, lots of information and fruitful discussion as well.
Thank you very much for spending time and your thoughts.
Alright.
We have a response from SS. I do agree. Sufian Saimi ke ni? I do agree. GPT does help a lot for learning purposes, but be aware it always has flaws in accuracy and coherent. Interesting. Coherency of the information. Few times I found the calculation information provided wrongly. Be smart in filtering and analyzing the data given. Oh, thank you very much. May I know specifically what calculation did you test it on? Statistical analysis. Boleh team tagging ni dengan Dr. Hana ni. ChatGPT feels too perfect. Exactly. You can feel the uncanny valley of composition. Ooh. No soul in the writing. Really agree in that. Yes.
Itulah aku mencari cerita senang sangat lah sebab kita ni kalau tahu baik banyak bawa kita ayat kita.
Okay, Miss Shah. One more. Okay, this is good. Encourage my students to use GPT. Oh, digital entrepreneurship. Copywriting. Yes, very good. Yes, and also ChatGPT is really disruptive at my center because I have designers as well working here. Nowadays, I really enjoy and I'm thankful to the ChatGPT because right now a lot of our media communication have better words, because otherwise I also had this mental block, writer block, because not in the area. Somehow I have to contribute to come up with pretty, sexy, interesting, inviting sentences. So having ChatGPT helps us to come up with better promotional copywriting. What if it is smarter than more useful than lecturer? A lecturer still needed? If so, how relevant is the lecturer if students can get everything in AI and ChatGPT? Oh, thank you very much. I would like to suggest that we think again about what is our due as a lecturer. Usually, we are assigned to teach, right? But really, as an educator, what we do is for us to educate. ChatGPT cannot educate. What does education means? ChatGPT does not really know and understand about the student. Although it can be used to, when we refine, we edit, and we interact, as much as we interact, it still cannot understand the student. So this is where it's very important for us as an educator to be a compassionate educator. When we are compassionate, then we know how to help our students. So, although people say that we need to humanize the technology, I would like to say also that this is the time that we need to be a real human. A real human educator is different. And because of that value, we couldn't be replaced by technology. ChatGPT is a shortcut, like asking our parents to do our homework while we were... Oh, okay, caught you there. Deja vu. Cannot replace expertise. Random errors from time to time. Even a simple calculation, a particular answer, not possible in certain circumstances. And also, why the educator is still needed? Because we do marking. When we do marking, we can specify which part you actually need to improve. Which part you actually have strength and where you can actually be directed. So, we have much more intelligence than the ChatGPT. It is a narrow intelligence. So, but that is how, for us to be better than the AI, we need to be able to leverage it to complement what we can do to make ourselves better and give better services to our students. Students are from different backgrounds. Those who are considered a little shy may use ChatGPT to learn. Yes. Itulah, I pun think kan, bagusnya ChatGPT ni because sometimes students, they malu nak tanya soalan. And they don't know also how to construct soalan. So, just imagine, by having ChatGPT, we can encourage, sebab itu elok if we use the ChatGPT in our class for us to see actually the students, which students can think, which students actually have this writer block, mental block, tak tahu nak ask question, cannot split, because ChatGPT is self-regulated application. So, ya, Waalaikumsalam. Ya.
Boleh teruskan soalan siapa yang tadi? Tadi kot doktor, boleh teruskanlah doktor.
Okay. Mana tadi dah? Exposing the students in the class as it is more neutral in language. They will then verify the info. Yelah, learn a lot kan? Tu yang best tu. That is why I actually enjoy. Because ChatGPT allows me to interact with my student. They will feel that I understand them. And that also opens opportunity for me to really understand them, to really understand about how they think, what prompt they use, how they get better, and by listening to this, I give further recommendation to them. I feel this semester I am really closer to the student compared to before because of ChatGPT, and I can teach them. I tell them, itulah, you depend too much on ChatGPT. ChatGPT replace you as a student. Things like that. What if the students type word by word into ChatGPT for online assessment? It can generate all the solution within seconds. Can be misused. Itulah. That is why. That is why nowadays the question, the assessment, the type of the assessment that we do when we have the online quiz shouldn't be like before. So we need to consider things that require them to draw, to express. And if you recall in my slides, when I do the slides, obviously I did some preparation, looking around what are other tips and come up with the slide. It is being encouraged globally for us to move towards more dialogue-based assessment. You just imagine if you can conduct with some percentage of assessment, you ask the student, give them certain task, let them go back, and then let them make preparation. They can use ChatGPT, ask them to come, present, and give marks to the presentation, give marks to the debate. So this is what it means by the process of learning rather than just the output. Previously, when we do assessment, banyak assessment on the output, written assessment, written online quiz. Not necessarily we can able to measure that they really understand. And if we think when they go to work, this communication ability to be able to articulate, to be able to express are more valuable. So leverage the ChatGPT to prepare our students for that skills. Yep. Cross check itulah. Macam I buat tadi, you easily I ask them to prepare. Lepas tu go back, prepare slide. They come to the front, they present things in the slide. I ask them question, just a bit of trick. Answer is available in the slide. They cannot answer me. At that time, I smash. So the point is that we need to make them alert. Because we are so worried nowadays. We don't want the generation to be lazy generation. For them to be robot, taking directly from the ChatGPT. We don't want them to be that. Does ChatGPT able to synthesize data from table to generate comparisons? Tried several times. I also fail. I don't think it can do. It cannot do it. If you want to do it, I think you need to do it in coding. Change the value in the table to array, then it can. Right now, it cannot do.
But to me kan doktor, boleh tak saya nak bagi pandangan? It seems like macam tugas-tugas lecturer ataupun pendidik ni akan lebih bertambah lah compared to dulu kan.
Sebenarnya bukan makin kurang kan. Sebenarnya bukan makin kurang. So before this we give je, lepas tu kita marking je. Sekarang bukan marking je
check, cross check macam-macam kan.
Actually we have to do mentoring. We reduce lah work to do the marking, but to really understand the student, to detect what they need to improve. Redefining our role ni. And it also make us more human. I tak tahu lah, macam for myself sometimes as an educator we feel that we are too big in front of them.
It seems like bukannya dah jadi educator, dia dah lebih kepada jadi counselor pun ya.
Yes. And also co-learner pun ya. Tapi I think this is the best bit lah, co-learner, because when they search, they find new info, and at that time kan we learn. Good luck everybody embracing ChatGPT, sharing and changing. I think you all punya task is more you are actually in a more adventurous situation because you have to teach the other teachers kan. Teachers lain ni for their students pula pakai ChatGPT. So I wish you all well. Good luck and thank you very much. Assalamualaikum. Selamat petang, selamat berehat balik. Bye.